So it looks like the national team might have bagged themselves a new manager. Personally, I can't believe that Nigel Clough's been overlooked again. But then again, a thing called desire means we've kept hold of him and we can keep dreaming about what will happen in League One. Let's face it, national team doesn't matter, international games don't matter, but Mansfield does. We're back after the international break where our strikers were scoring again. We're back to reflect on all things Blackpool, all things international breaks. We'll talk comebacks, reserve games, FA Cup draws, and a hell of a lot more in between, along with a little thing called desire. As always, come and have your say on your team. This is the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. So join in the comments, in the live feed, and have your say on your team as the Stags look ahead to a double-header as we take on Stevenage at home, followed by the trip to Wigan in the week. Hello and welcome to the Mansfield Matters Podcast. It's the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Hope that you've had a good international break and you've enjoyed your time off. Some of us have enjoyed the time off from football by sitting back and relaxing and enjoying our retirement years. Others have been up and down the country buying more football shirts. Some have been around the local area cleaning our bins. Others have been making glass. And some idiots have been to Cornwall putting rings on fingers. But more on that later on. Let's say hello and good evening to our Mansfield Matters podcast panel first. By first, hoping that the technology works as we try and say hello and good evening to the man who should be at the other end of the phone. James, are you there? I knew that would happen every single time. I'll try and bring him back in a bit. Let's say hello and good evening to people that are... that can hear me and can speak by first saying hello and good evening to Mr. Clive Parkin. Hello. Very funny, Clive. Not funny.
Good evening, Craig. Good evening, everybody.
Let's say hello and good evening to Mr. Alan Wilson. Evening, Al.
Good evening, Craig. Good evening, lads. Good evening, everybody.
And let's say hello to a man who's been on holiday himself and no, he's not returned with a suntan, but he has returned with a very rare Mansfield Town shirt. It's Nick of Mansfield Town Shirts fame. Evening.
Hello, Craig. Hello, everyone.
Fill us in on what you've been doing. You've got one over your shoulder. You've got a brand new Mansfield Town shirt for the collection, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got a few new ones. That one. That's AD Boothroyd's 94-95. That's quite new. And then quite a rare one from the player behind me. Probably most of you won't remember, but Joel Kitamarika we had briefly in 04-05 for 2 games, and one of the games he wore that. So it's quite rare. I think it was that rare that it was on eBay, and no one really picked up that it was probably a player's shirt. I can't picture anyone having that on the back of their shirt, if I'm perfectly honest.
Did you
Unless
have
there's anyone
to...
from Mansfield with that surname, but I doubt it.
Did you have to have a little Google and go and see if that was actually a player rather than just some, like Dave Stagg or whatever that people put on the shirts?
When I was doing stuff for the website, I was looking for pictures of various shirts and kits. And that season, the only images that seemed to exist of the away kit in quite good quality were away at Northampton. And I remember looking ages ago and seeing his picture and thought, who on earth is that? And then his name had stuck in my head. So as soon as I saw it on eBay, I thought it's got to be. It was the right size. So I thought it's got to be a match worn. I'm still not know for sure, but it's pretty much damn it.
So this is a new one in the collection. Where are we in terms of numbers of the collection now?
The last time I counted it was 160 something, but I must have another 10 since that. It's maybe 175, something around there, something like that.
It's certainly getting
maybe more. It may be more now. I'd need to build a proper setup. So, but yeah, probably around there.
It's certainly getting there now. Right, let's try the technology. Hopefully you heard the phone ringing there. Hello, James.
I thought it was the banker.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we've got you now. I always have to turn my phone off and off for some reason. I don't know why. It's so annoying. We've just been talking about Nick's brand new shirt. Nick, just for Jim's benefit, just tell him what shirt you've got, and let's see if Jim can recall said player.
It was the legend that is Joel Kitamarika.
Vaguely.
Vaguely, I mean, vaguely's more than what I had.
Played for Chelsea at 17 in the UEFA Cup, and then got arrested for quite a serious drugs offence. So he's had a few ups and downs.
We could say that. I mean, which one was the
uppers and downers?
Yeah,
I think it's the 2 games for Mansfield that he classes as an up.
The ups and downs, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think many people remember.
Like an honest as I've never heard of him.
Oh,
I think you've made him up.
I have now got a challenge. I've got a challenge for you now, Nick. I mean, how many games did Joel Kitamarika play for Mansfield Town?
2.
Can you, in your collection, off the top of your head, think of players that have played shirts of players that have played under 10 games? How many have you got in your collection?
I bet I've got a few. I'd have to look now, but I bet I've got a few. I don't know how many Ryan Burke played. I bet he didn't play many more than 10. I've got his shirt. No. Someone offered me a Paul Black shirt a while ago, and I think he only played once.
Yeah.
I think. So that would be... I'm
Alan,
still after
can you
a Richard
remember
Narty
calling
one,
out
but...
Kitamarika's name?
I can't recall it, Clive, to be honest. I don't know whether the 2 matches he played were both away or whether he did play at Phil Miller's, it would have been then. But
I don't think he did. I think they were both away.
One's definitely got to be away with that shirt, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was Northampton away was the game, but it's only when you go through the depths of the player archive from those seasons that you realise there's some. I mean, the conference years are the best for the random players. But yeah, there's some random players that even though you probably went to every game, you've no clue who they are.
Anyway,
one to rival that would be Manny Diaserawi.
Yeah, I think James Alibi would probably be the ultimate because he played about 20 minutes, didn't he, before he got sent off? So if you could get that covered in the blood of the defender that he elbowed in the chops, if you could get that shirt, that'd be up there, wouldn't it?
That's a proper collector's item.
If you could find a Richard Narty shirt with any semblance of sweat on it, that'd be a rarity.
Just the dust from the medical bench.
Yeah, probably not on that one, Clive.
No. Well, my challenge to you, Nick, is I'd love to see either. Well, let's start off with a 5-a-side team of players that have played 10 games or less. But the ultimate goal within the space of before this season is out, let's see if we can get to 11. Let's see where we can get with these random players. But they have to have the name and number on the back. It can't just be a shirt where you go, Steve wore this. No, it's got to be a proper name.
Steve from down the road.
So older players where they didn't have names and numbers on shirts don't count then?
Yeah, I know it limits you a little bit, but
They were
like
shared
Nick
about
said-
a little bit, weren't they? They were generally subs, but I'll find something.
Like Nick said, though, there's a lot of you look back to. Can you remember, Nick, when names first came on the back? I'm sure that would be a stat that's in your head somewhere.
Yeah, that was 99, 2000 was the first season.
So you've got quite a window.
With names. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've already thought of one because I've already thought of a couple. I've got Curtis Shaw. I don't even know if he played one game for us.
Well,
his
there you
shirt.
go.
So he's in there. He's in the 5-a-side already.
We're getting there. We're building up this. Isn't it randomly Curtis Shaw? Is he not now like a bit of a YouTuber?
He is. He does Arsenal-based YouTube watch-alongs, I think, and he's got a few 100,000 subscribers, I think. But yeah, he definitely does something Arsenal-related.
This is where the dizzy heights of Mansfield takes you, by the way. We
You
will
got-
get on
have
to.
you got a Flinders shirt?
Yeah, I've got a few.
Well, there you go. There's your goalkeeper then.
Yeah, true. He's a bit
True.
too good for that side, though, isn't he?
Yeah, just a bit. He's the anomaly, isn't he? We'll
Yeah.
talk about a little bit more about that later on. We will get on, by the way, just talking about Blackpool and things like that. But we always like to start with a little bit of shirt chat whenever Nick's on, and a little bit of randomness as well. But yes, keep your comments coming in. Have your say on your team. We'll get to all of that in a little bit. But what I was going to say is Nick was talking there about the randomness of players that we had, back in those days. What would that have been? 2003, 2004, I'm guessing?
0405, that was, yeah.
0405. I was thinking of something to do content-wise for over Christmas, and I was thinking about, because Football Manager 25 has been delayed until next year, I was thinking about doing like a Football Manager save by loading up Football Manager 2015 and only signing players that have played for Mansfield in the last 10 years. And I was looking through the squad that we had 10 years ago, and oh my God, we have definitely come on leaps and bounds in that. But more on that another time if I decide to ever do that content. Let's move on, shall we, and talk all things Blackpool and the last time we had a game. Jim, to be honest, I've a lot has happened in the last 7 days or so for me, so I can barely remember the Blackpool game. So you're Mr. Reliable. Remind us what happened, will you?
We won 2-0. I think Blackpool only had one shot that Pim had to save, from what I can remember, and it was one of our best performances of the season, from what I can recall. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
It's an interesting one going into that game, isn't it, Alan? Because we were sort of saying what we would love in that game is we'd be happy to take away a point. They'd had the new manager bounce and they'd done fairly well. Few of us expected to come away with all 3 points, but we just did what Mansfield did, and that's just repeat the 2-0, the clean sheet again. I don't know which one's more pleasing.
They nullified the two wingers, didn't they? And, basically, I think CJ's still in his pocket. It was just unbelievable performance. I thought, they kept very, very quiet indeed. I think he had one burst of speed down the left-hand side in the second half, which was like on the west-hand side, and that was about it. But I thought it was an accomplished performance. I thought George Williams deserved his man of the match award. I mean, I know he didn't get it on the day, but I mean over the time. But I think it was another one that's just dropped in, now probably 90 minutes or whatever before, played superbly well, and everybody just keeps stepping up, Craig, and that's what I like to see. For that, if they were in that shirt at the time, somebody's got to play really well to get it off them, and that's a good point to start from.
It's an interesting one, Clive. Alan mentions George Williams there, sort of came in, did his job, got man of the match and things like that. He's a very accomplished player and does superbly well when he does start. But it's just amazing to think, isn't it? You don't think about him in a starting 11. If you were to pick your ultimate starting 11, he probably doesn't get in. But that's what's so good about us this year. We're not a squad where you look at and you go, that's the starting 11. We are just a squad.
Yeah, although you should never adopt the pretext that a player can't be in your starting 11, simply because if he gets his chance and performs as well as he did against Blackpool on a regular basis, then he should keep a place in the starting 11. I thought he had a tremendous game. His biggest problem, of course, he's not quite as sharp as he would be if he'd been playing more often, but he had a great game against worthy competition. And I think if he can stay fit, he'll fight for his place, and he'll probably, give Mr. Clough a real headache.
I think the other thing to add to that, Nick, as well, is the fact that he played the left-hand side of a back three. When we finished the previous game, Jordan Bowery played that side and looked a little bit suspect, and Williams went right side. I expected it to be that again, but they switched, and like you said, like Alan said, he deserved his man of the match award.
Yeah, I think that it comes from Clough, the fact that a lot of players will know that if they do play well and they get their chance, they will keep the place. And I think that's what Clough's done well, especially the back end of last season and this year, that if people do well, they tend to stay. We've had a lot of managers before who would have players injured and their favourites. They'd bring someone in, they'd be brilliant, they'd be man of the match, and then they'd be dropped again the following week. And there's no incentive, I don't think, then to play well. Whereas the Stags players know at the minute, you play well and you're going to start again. And George, I thought he had a great game at Rotherham and he got injured again. Which was really disappointing. But it's the first time in a long time where we're bringing subs off the bench and they're making a big difference. We're rotating, and they're making absolutely no detriment to the side, which has not been the case for a long, long time.
Say, with the exception of Scott Flinders, which is the anomaly, because he can come in and have a storming game and not play the next game.
He could get a hat trick and he'd still be on the bench.
Yeah,
sorry, Scott.
Whilst playing in goal as well. It just is the way it is. Jim, we're talking there about George Williams, of course. Did he stand out and impress you on last Saturday? It seems like an age ago now. Was he man of the match in your eyes?
Yeah, I think that was probably fair. And I think going to a back three on a more regular basis, I think his pace is very much sort of relevant now, because obviously playing in a back three, you're going to be exposed more out wide as a centre-back. And I thought it was excellent. But he's another one, isn't he? A bit like Macca, who he struggles to string sort of half a dozen games together. And that's going to be his problem, is just staying fit. But haven't we got an embarrassment to riches now in defence?
And it's crazy, isn't it? Especially with Alfie coming back. I think Aidan Flint's only a couple of weeks away. He's back on the grass, I think, either late this week or early next week. So we're not that far from having what we'd probably all agree is the preferred back three in there of Flint, Kilgour, and Cargill. It's he didn't even play, did he? So it is, like Jim says, it's an embarrassment of riches. It's really, really good to see. But also, Nick, I think it's what's good about George Williams is the fact that many forget he's got experience at this level, and it does suit the way we play. We do let our wing backs go a little bit higher to join the attack, and you get players like him who's astute, calm, collected on the ball, and despite his height, does superbly well for a centre back in the air too.
Yeah, I thought he looked really good in the air. I think it seems the five suits us quite a lot, doesn't it? I mean, in the three that you selected there, I think you arguably missed out our best centre back at the minute, which is Oshilaja. So you could pick. Him, Uncle Dave. You could
Uncle Dave.
Uncle Dave.
You all right?
He's related to Stephen Quinn.
Hello there. This is my cousin Dave.
Yeah, I don't think they are related. He's been fantastic, and for William, you could just slot any of them in, couldn't you? In any sort of order. You get Barry just appears back there. I mean, Akins has been sat on the bench, hasn't he? When he's been injured, he's not had a chance. He's filled in at right wing back. Hewitt's come back in and looked like he's never missed a game, despite being out for a long time. It's great to see them interchanging. And like you said, he's played left centre-back. Williams has played right centre-back. You could argue he could play wing-back. Maybe not got the pace, but in games where we're going to defend a bit more, you could argue he could play there as well. So it's a dream to have that many defenders. Normally we're scratching around.
It's crazy. And another man I want to bring up, Alan, is Jordan Barry. Before this, I was invited onto the Stevenage FC podcast talking about our squad. And, we'll talk about it a little bit more later on in terms of are we surprised at where we are. But we were talking about defenders and how we're going to line up potentially on Saturday. And we've not even been mentioning Jordan Bowery in that ilk of picking players. But like Dave, like George Williams, Jordan Bowery, whenever he's played this season in that back line, has been absolutely immense and has barely put a foot wrong. And he deserves as much credit as all the others that, let's be honest, are stepping in there. I really wish, though, we need to now draw a line on referring to Jordan Bowery as a striker, because Jordan Bowery isn't a striker, is he? Jordan Bowery is just a god. I mean, he's a defender.
And I think it's, excuse me, I think it's been like that for the last 18 months so with Jordan especially. And I think Macca deserves a lot of credit this year as well because he's flying. I mean, 2 assists, and it looks really good. It looks like the Macca of old. I mean, when him and Quinny get together again, and start being able to produce what they did either last year or year before, whenever it was, it's good signs for Mansfield. You look all across, and then how many times have you said that we've had 3 internationals on bench? It's really good. I'm really enjoying it.
It is absolutely crazy at where we are as well. Let's go to some comments. As always, come and have your say on your team in the live feed. Really appreciate you getting involved. Simon kicked us off tonight, Nick, and said that's a lot of service stations for picking up all your shirts. Was this one a service station or was this posted direct to your door?
Muted myself. There was no service stations involved. No wimpies were injured in the picking up of those shirts. But number 4 came from someone's house, but that one came through the post. I think that was from Poland, by the way. I think when I bought it from eBay, I'm pretty certain it came from Poland. I don't quite know how it made it. It's trying to escape me, I think. I don't know how it quite made it. It made it to Eastern Europe, but I managed to get it back. I've known you for probably 2 years or so now, and the more I've got to know you, the more I know that when it comes to shirts, nothing escapes you. I mean, There could be a match-worn shirt. I mean, you probably wouldn't go this far, but then again, depending on which player it was, there could be a match-worn shirt buried on, the outer of a skeleton. Wouldn't put it past it to find its way to you at some point. No, nothing normally gets in the way. If there was one like in the Gaza Strip, I'd have probably had it by now. It's like, if they're out there, I'll get them. It's an art form. That's what he's there for. Shirts matter. Keep your comments coming in.
Absolutely.
Simon also adds, Blackpool felt like a special game. Strong opposition, personally one of the best performances in years, and the return of Alfie. We'll park the return of Kilgour for a second, Clive, but other than that, Blackpool felt like a special game. Strong opposition, personally one of the best performances in years. What do you make of Simon's comment there?
I agree with him. They were a decent quality of opposition, and by rights, they should have given us a bigger headache than they did. I thought we competently dealt with them. We narrowed the pitch, which is we knew we'd have to do that anyway. In every section of our team, we performed well, and there was no opportunity for them for their 2 superstars to shine. I think our keeper had a couple of saves to make, but nothing out the window, really. I just thought the result was a little surprising, but we deserved it.
Jim, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I echo what Clive said. I think we were expecting Blackpool to be tough, but I felt really comfortable throughout the game. I never felt like they really got on top of us. And actually, it was the first time really this season I really felt comfortable that we genuinely, we can say we belong at the level. But I'm just, you've got to be careful going forward that we just keep the same approach for me. And one of the reasons we are where we are is because we've expected every game to be tough, and it's kept us sharp and at it. I think the minute we start thinking we've cracked it, then I think we'll come unstuck. But I think we just got to keep doing what we're doing, and it's bizarre. We're not used to things going this well.
It's an interesting comment from Jim there, Nick, in terms of doing what we're doing, because I was listening to Nigel Clough early today, and he was talking about he almost feels like the change of shape has been enforced a little bit. Losing Davies Keeler-Dunn, he's obviously a big factor in that because there's no one really that can play that role. In fact, I'd argue that there isn't at all in terms of playing it the same way and the same style. But also he added on the back of that it wouldn't really work at this level anyway. And for me, it's no coincidence that we've gone to this back 5, and since we've done that and played it on a more consistent basis, we've started keeping clean sheets and making less mistakes. So will teams start to figure us out, or will this actually be that base where we can go forward and continue to solidify everything that we're doing?
I think you're right in terms of it was enforced. I think it was pushed onto us, but it's ticked a few boxes that we struggled at times last year, despite getting promoted. Was we struggled with width sometimes, and I think we struggled not having 2 up front all the time. Whereas we've brought strikers in, we're playing a proper partnership, and it's quite an interesting point you make about Keeler-Dunn. Him being out the side has brought the whole team more together, and I think a lot more solid. they all know the jobs, they all know the roles, and they all stick to them and they do them quite well. And I think that we have stumbled across the 5 at the back, but it certainly works. In terms of teams finding a way around it, I think 5 at the back is, if you do it right and you put the right players in the right positions, i.e. you've got good wing backs, maybe if Maka got injured, you'd be a bit susceptible on the left-hand side because Cargill isn't a wing back. You could obviously play Jordan, he of all positions there. But I think we played last season, a lot of teams played 5 at the back and they're hard to break down if they get it right. Because if they try and funnel you down the middle, which is what Stags try and do, obviously we try and force them down the middle, and that's where Reed is, and then 3 centre backs. It's really difficult to deal with. I mean, Birmingham's going to be a different task, isn't it? The Real Madrid of League One. But I think a lot of teams. I think Blackpool they obviously knew we were going to play 5 at the back, but they were literally out of ideas. You could just see their players were just passing it around, going, "I don't know what to do with it," and their attackers were making runs that were just being picked up, and their wingers were just being tackled by the wing backs. We nullified them really, really well, and I think that was a lot of it down to the system, like you say.
So we're talking about left-sided players there, Clive, and we've just done that, or Nick's just done that Mansfield Town thing, which I think we're all guilty of under Nigel Clough, and that's forgetting a player because of injury, and that's Tracy, who of course also made his comeback against Blackpool, and again, you look at options as a left wing back. That's where he played pretty much all of last season, isn't it? So it's not like we're short on options. And even playing, the other options, your Williams, your Boweries, your Cargills, your Akins, still options. Will Evans.
Don't say that. Tracy had a turnout today, didn't he, for the Central?
He did, yeah.
He's a great player, I think, but I hope he's not as injury prone as he might seem to be. But we've as you say, we've got covering just about every department in the back line now. I think he can play in front of the defence, though, can't he, Tracy? And that's probably useful to know, especially as Mr. Quinn starts to wind out of the game.
Yeah, we're just blessed with so many options, Alan. It really is great. I wouldn't like to be Nigel Clough when everybody's fit and available. Of course, that's the dream scenario for him after, 4 and a bit years or whatever as Mansfield manager. Having everybody available would probably be a first for him. But I wouldn't know who to pick. I wouldn't like to. We tried it, didn't we, on the last podcast? And I don't think any of us could agree on a settled 11. I think we had probably about 75% which matched, and that was it.
Do you think if we got all our players fit when it gets to Christmas that we might ship a few out in January?
See, it's a tempting one, that, because Nigel Clough alluded to it, didn't he, last summer? But I think you learn in time. I don't think he'd want to take that risk. I think he would much rather have people available but not playing every week and mixing up. Because I don't think he would play the same 11 each week either. I think there would be enough rotation to keep everybody happy, with the exception of 1 or 2. I think with Nigel Clough, you know what you get. You got to work hard and earn your shirt. It's going to change at some point. So
I assume McDonald will go, won't he?
Oh yeah, it'll be, yeah.
That might be one of the only ones that goes.
Yeah, because he's not registered anyway, is he? So he'll be the only other one for me would probably be Rhys Oates. But you say that when he gets fit, Nigel Clough will throw him in, because if he was fit and available now, he'd be starting, because we've not got Lee Gregory. It'd probably be. I think Tom Nichols is more likely to go than what Rhys Oates is. So conundrum for January, I'm sure. But anyway, let's go back to what we were saying there, Alan, and talking about that.
Yeah, can you imagine though? Such as Flint, Kilgour, and the rest of them, probably Akins in with that. When if the team's still performing well as we are at the moment, having 7 players like that 6 players and Scott Flinders on the bench, it'll be unbelievable. And not being able to actually, start in the 11. That would be unreal.
I think
what chance have our youngsters got, Alan, eh?
Well, at the moment, Clive, not a lot. But you can't blame. I mean, we've been in times before where we've struggled and we've had to put the youngsters in. The youngsters' time will come, I'm sure. But at the moment, at this present time, there's not a lot of room for them. But after saying that, Ben Quinn, Uncle Stephen's nephew, he had a very good game again today, apparently, and it could be interesting when he finally gets his chance.
He might get a chance on Saturday with Ben Wayne not having, because he's very unlikely to start on Saturday, having travelled heavily. Jim, let's just go back to that situation on squad and things like that. I was talking earlier on the Stevenage podcast about squads in League One. Everyone looks at, Birmingham for spending a lot of money, your Wrexhams, etc., etc. They've all got quality players, and we've not spent anywhere near the percentage of money that they have. Yet we've still built a squad that's capable of competing. We've still got a great squad mentality. I like the episode, like the name of this episode suggests, it is a thing called desire, which drives Mansfield on. And I genuinely think when everybody is fit and available, they will all play a part in some way, shape or form because of this mentality, this desire mentality, which Nigel Clough has instilled within that dressing room.
Yeah, I mean, lots of going back to Wrexham and Birmingham. Money doesn't mean anything unless you know how to spend it. You've seen countless teams through football history have spent a lot of money and got absolutely nowhere because they've not spent it correctly. And I think a lot of our squad has been here a while now, and it's testament to, recruiting well over time, I guess, and players who are flexible in formations and positions, and they're all good players. And I think we're seeing the best of Clough now as well. And there's no doubt. I think you say the word desire. There's no doubt that's been key in where we are. And like I said before, I don't think you can stress enough. We need to keep that edge, that hunger, and that sharpness, because I think it is a level where if you are off it, that 3, 4, 5%, you will get turned over very easily. But I think our squad matches up to we'll give anybody in this league a game. I really do think. I don't think we've got anything to fear.
I think one thing to add on the back of that, Nick, actually is this run that we're on. We were talking earlier on I was talking to the Stevenage guy and sort of saying, he said, why do you think you are where you are? And I think it is as simple as momentum coupled with desire and people just wanting to play for the shirt. People have underestimated Mansfield Town. That's no secret at all so far this season. We've probably underestimated ourselves as well, but we're also under no illusions that a poor run of form will come, and it is about desire. But the important thing for me now is getting through games unbeaten. If we have a bad spell, but don't lose too many games, as in the bad spell ends up just being 4 or 5 draws and maybe 1 or 2 defeats, I don't think that's a bad spell, because we're still, over the longevity of it, being hard to break down and being hard to beat. And I think that is probably the measure of our success so far this season, and what will continue to be the measure as we go forward.
Yeah, I think the reaction to the defeat to Lincoln is a big one, isn't it? We've had a couple of bad results where we were quite poor. We lost very unluckily to Bolton. We then got, beaten quite comfortably by Rotherham. Then we got battered by Lincoln, and yet it didn't faze us, and we just came back the next game. And it's games like the Burton game where we just didn't lose. It was very important. We played really well. We should have won the game, but we didn't lose. And the game at Stockport, they were probably the better side in that second half. Could have scored near the end, but again, we didn't lose, did we? And that's massive for us. It's like you say, you keep picking up points. And when you were talking about the money situation earlier, I think it's quite important as well to realise that none of that squad that I can think of have come to Mansfield for the money.
No.
You look at Lewis Brunt going to Wrexham. There's one reason why he went to Wrexham over Mansfield. And you look at other players who go to these clubs and you think, well, that's the only reason they've gone there. I can't think of a player who's gone to Mansfield for the money. I'm sure Gregory could have got more somewhere else in League One. Flinty could have gone somewhere else before he came here. And it doesn't always work out, does it, going for the money, these individuals? And I think Nigel Clough, let's be honest, is one of the main reasons why a lot of those players are here. But they've all got what's instilled in him, they've all bought into, haven't they? It's quite clear. And I think it might have been Jim who mentioned it. Nigel's in his element at the minute. You can just tell that just getting us out of that league has lifted him now, because that was his mission, wasn't it? Get us out of that league. So everything else now, to me, just seems like it's a Steve Brucey bonus now for Nigel. He's just taking it one off two. He's like a boxer who just can't lose, isn't he? He just keeps knocking other teams out the way, and he's, all this fist bumping at the end of matches and stuff. He's gone up another level, I think, and the players are just, he's like Gandalf, isn't he? He's just walking and they're just following him behind him, and it's great to see. And I think the players are really bought into what he's what Nigel's doing, and long may it continue. I can't see it ending anytime soon. At the minute,
Alan, do you want to pick up on that? I think the important takeaway from that is that reaction to the linking game, isn't it? It just re-highlights and re-emphasises the word desire.
Yeah, it's same as Will said in his interview after we'd got no superstars, have we? And I think that's how people look at it. We haven't got superstars. We've got 18 players or whatever, 22 players wanting to play for that shirt. And once you get the chance to play in that shirt, you want to keep it. And everybody's going for the same thing. And it's like somebody said in the comments earlier on. I don't think I've seen a better, squad coming together than these lads are at the moment. And it's Nigel Clough that's done it all. He's had players that's played for him before, and it's that name, isn't it? Let's go and play for Nigel. And it works.
But talking of superstars, though, before I just want to give more mention to how good Louis Reed's been since he got the captaincy. Maybe you were going to come onto it, so I apologise if you were, but he has been unbelievable. He's like he's. I know he's played in the Championship before, but he could easily play there again at the minute. He just pings, but that ball that he played down the line that spun back the exact right amount to just sort of stop near the line. He's a joy to watch at the minute, and that captain's armband has done him the world of good. And I just thought he's probably worth a mention. Thought he's been brilliant.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Completely agree. Clive, what do you make of this one from the gate? We're playing League One teams like we're still in League Two in the FA Cup. What do you make of that? I think what the gate's trying to get at there is perhaps we still have a smaller club League Two mentality, and we're just almost happy for a giant killing of sorts.
Yeah, that's only going to last for so long, though, isn't it? I mean, we came into this league this year just wanting to survive, but of course now the expectation's been driven higher than that. No. And I think if you play like a good second division team, you're going to beat a lot of the first division teams anyway, because there isn't a huge differences. We've touched on depth of squad and quality of players, and the lack of superstars is a perfect example of how a team like ours can prosper. But it brings it into absolute perspective when you consider that Birmingham City paid £10 million, a £15 million package for Jay Stansfield. Mansfield Town haven't spent that on players in 15 years.
I'd be surprised if we've ever spent that.
Well, I mean, there's obviously fees and things going through that don't measure up a lot on their own.
You could buy the club for that. You could buy the club for that. You could buy the town.
The value of our club is about £7 million. So you could. It really is. It is the disparity of football, and it's just found itself into this league this year. And while ever you get oligarchs and oil barons and all and the Chinese and whatever coming into our game, if they buy smaller clubs, and let's not forget 1 or 2 Hollywood superstars, then you're going to get this strange thing. And the clubs like ours, even with generous owners, can't compete on the same level. So we have to find another device, and that other device is players that really want to put themselves out there. And you've touched on that. They've not come for the money. They've come because they're buying the vision.
Jim, I want to touch upon another point that Clive made there, and that was about expectation levels. And I think there are a few comments on that. Susan, for example, has put in the comments, if we win Saturday and Wrexham draw or lose and Birmingham lose, we will be top of the league. Wow, wouldn't that be nice? And whilst it would, and whilst it, I was laughing earlier about the same thing, it'd just be so daft to see little old Mansfield Town sitting top of League One. I still don't think it matters. And for me, the expectation, despite all these clean sheets, despite playing well, it hasn't changed for me beyond survival. What about you?
No, I agree. I think that's still first priority number one. There's still a long way to go. A long way to go. We are going to have a bad run at one point. It's just a good start. That's all it is. And don't forget, at the moment, in the eyes of the league, we are still underdogs. If we keep as we are at the right end of the table, teams will take us more seriously, and they're going to come to us, giving it more kitchen sink than they have been so far. And I just think, cast your mind back to last season when we went top for about 4 or 5 weeks. It was hard work, wasn't it? Teams were playing in against us. And you're always going to have that phenomenon again. Teams are going to come and they're going to be at it against us because they're suddenly going to take us seriously. And I think, 3rd, 4th is great. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't. At the moment, you don't really want to go much higher than that. The higher you go, the more you are there to be shot at. And I just think, I agree, Craig. Remember what the priorities are. we need to make sure we survive this first season. And it is, like I say, it is the level where if it goes wrong, it could really go wrong. And it's well written in sport, isn't it? In sport, literature, that expectation can kill you. It really can, because you just put too much pressure on yourself. I just think the approach every game like we have so far, expect every game to be tough, home or away, and just fight and get what we can from each and every single one of them. And that is it, one game at a time.
Now, Nick, I'm not saying on the back of that we should put our feet up and go, oh, hang on a minute, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves here. Let's go back to crawling before we can walk and all that. I'm not for a second saying that, because, what will be, and we need to build week upon week. But at the same time, like Marie says in the comments, still wouldn't mind if we finish fifth from bottom, stay up and build, because that's all this season is about. The one thing we don't want to be this time next year is a League Two football club again. We want to be, a League One football club building towards the future.
Yeah, I think Clough nailed it in his interview. I think the last game when he said it's just points in the bank for when you have a bad spell, and which will inevitably come. I mean, with context, we've only got one less win than Carlisle managed all last season. We're 10 points off their final tally already. So, we're motoring along, but you've just got to... I think it's nice as a fan to go into a game we don't have to win every game. In League Two, for years, it was every game was like a must-win. And that expectation for me has just dropped. Like the Saturday before Blackpool, we just enjoyed it. They were in the form team. If they'd have beat us 2-0, I don't think anyone would have fell off the chairs. Whereas, when last season, when you play Newport at home or Barrow, if they win 2-0, it's a disaster. And it ruins your weekend and it ruins the week, and the players are all deflated. Whereas this season, I think the players are riding that feeling off the fans. There's no negativity that I could hear. Even last season, we talked on the podcast about people moaning. I haven't heard any moaning about anybody. People just sit there in awe while we keep scoring goals and winning games, and it's great because you're not expecting it. So I think it makes it even better. So the more points we bank now, it's like you say, there will be a bad point, but the amount of points we've got now, I think it was January before we got it last time we were in League One, and we're not even in November yet. So enjoy the ride while we can. But
sorry to talk across you, but I reckon at this rate we'll be clear of the relegation worries by the new year.
Very easily, if we keep
on
that's
a benchmark, isn't it? It's an absolute benchmark.
Yeah,
listen, we'll be clear of
absolutely mad.
Listen, we'll be clear of the relegation mark when we are mathematically clear of the relegation mark. That is when we are clear of it.
Let's call it April.
Yes, let's not. Yeah, when it's mathematically impossible to go down, that is when we're clear of it. All right, folks.
43 points is all you need.
Yeah.
Can we redact Clive's comment from the record, please?
I've always
so it never in case it goes wrong, no one can clip it.
You see, what I'm saying is real. It's factual. It's not made up. Unlike that SpaceX thing, that was a plastic model hung on a piece of string. Nobody's going to tell me that was a real thing happening. It was worse than the early days of Thunderbirds. It was swinging about. There were bits of tepid flame flickering out of it. My God, who do you think they are? They've not fooled me one bit.
I think you're getting confused with your Clive's Conspiracy Theories podcast that you do on a Thursday. That's the wrong one. This is
Conspiracies with Clive.
Conspiracy Clive. Yeah.
You're not having
something like that.
I think that'd be a great podcast. Anyway, Alan, go on. You've been trying to speak for the last 10 minutes.
How can you follow that? Yeah, I agree with everything. And I said right at the start of the season, 50 points to be certain. I mean, it might be 43, it might be 45, it might be less, who knows? But I said 50 from the start of the season. When we get to 50, anything else after that is a bonus. But a good cup run would be nice.
We'll come on to cup runs after the break. Keep your comments coming in. Have your say on your team. We'll also talk Alfie Kilgour after the break and an excited Andy Garner. More on that after the break. Let's go back through some more of your comments. Excuse me. Talking earlier on about defenders and things like that as well. Marie says Dave belongs in that back line. He's immense and built like a. And then you're going to have to do the emojis for this. You'll have to figure it out. There's some emojis of bricks. There's an emoji of a poo. And there's an emoji of house. So you can put those together in the Mansfield Matters comments emoji quiz. Now, there's one for a future bucket, for a future games generator. Doesn't work so well in audio form, though, does it? So maybe not. Anyway, keep your comments coming in. Keeley says, I haven't seen team spirit like this for a very long time. All the players in the team are wanting to play in that shirt, and that's amazing to see. Following on from the comment earlier on, the gate ads. Spot on, but I mean, like we have nothing to lose, and knowing we can get on that pitch and break teams down and show why we are here, and that we won't roll over just because we're coming up and they've got a £15 million player, just like we did against Peterborough or the like in the last few years. Got to feel bad for poor old Cambridge, one draw in the first quarter. Keeley also says, I believe if the team spirit stays the same, we'll be in League One next season and we will grow from there. I agree. Some teams still see us as the underdogs. Chris says the spirit and belief within the stands is fantastic and the players are feeding off that as well. And I think one thing we probably should say there, Jim, very briefly before we take a break for half time is, as much as Nigel Clough has instilled that spirit and belief within the dressing room, it has finally spilt out into the stands. And, 2 or 3 seasons ago, in fact, in his first season in charge, when fans could come in, you could see there were times where we didn't quite buy into his mantra. We didn't quite see what he was getting on with, and there were a few moans and groans. But certainly over the last 18 months, perhaps even 2 years, that mantra, that belief, that team spirit has gone into the stands, and it's replicated every single week. You can just see it, can't you? Every time he does the fist bumps and celebrates. Crawley was the prime example. We've all seen that clip.
Yeah, he's a very resilient manager, isn't he? He's given us a resilience that I don't think we've had for a long time. And I think as a fan base, we can be really good anyway. And I think it's all sort of come together to be a really good sort of atmosphere and environment now. And watching that little video with Kilgour and Will Evans, I don't know if anybody's seen that. They were commenting, weren't they, how sort of good our fans are in the atmosphere. But I think a lot of that is down to Clough and his just vibe he gives it to the dressing room, and he's brilliant. I think he's accepted now, even by the doubters, isn't he?
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely. More on that after the break. We'll talk more about that Alfie Kilgour interview with Will Evans as well. Plus, we'll talk more about Kilgour. We'll talk FA Cup draw. We'll look ahead to the next 2 fixtures and much, much more in between. Anything Mansfield Town related you want to say, get it in the comments in the live feed now and have your say on your team. Why? Because Mansfield matters, as do, apparently, adverts. You're back with the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. This is the Mansfield Matters podcast. Thanks so much for joining us on this Tuesday evening. Of course, it's been a long time since we've had a bit of a fixture. That's because we've had ye old international break, Nick. And in the international break, it was initially called off because Ben Waine, Keanu Bacchus and an injured Lucas Akins were all called up for international duty. And then out of the blue, Christy Pym, Northern Irish. Hello there, my name's Christy Pym.
I'm not having any of that. Apparently, is it grandma or something? They've really gone back in I reckon they've just bought that ancestry package and just type in players' names and just have a look. Oh, she sounds a bit Irish. Well, that's right. So fair play to him. If you'd have said at the start of the season he'd have been an international, I think we'd have all wondered, what happened to the English men's team if Pym's played, but. Yeah, for him to be called up is just he's been brilliant, hasn't he? He's been absolutely superb. I'd love to see him play. I know he's been on the bench, hasn't he? But I think both of their other keepers are League One, aren't they? I think one's Bolton and one. Oh no, maybe one might be Sheffield Wednesday. I think some Championship. But they're fantastic. He's been brilliant for us this season and completely deserves any accolade that he can get. So fair play to him for finding a grandparent.
Yeah, apart from Lincoln, but everyone has an off day, don't they? But
we'll let him have an off day.
I find it quite fascinating, Clive, because Nigel Clough was saying in his interview, if you don't get on the pitch, you're still actually eligible to play for other countries. So technically, you're still eligible to play for England.
Thomas Tuchel might be watching this podcast.
Exactly, you never know. I'm not going to do a Tuchel because I don't really know him. So
no, don't do that.
So I won't do it. But he could be thinking, I need to scout by looking and listening to podcasts. So yeah, Christy Pym's a great choice for England.
I think the chances of Thomas Tuchel actually listening to the Mansfield Matters podcast, whilst it's not 0, it's pretty close.
You never know. You never know who's listening out there. You do never know. But also,
hi, Thomas.
Nice to
more likely Thomas the Tank Engine than Thomas Tuchel, but we'll give it.
Now there's a feature. Hey, TV theme
Hey,
tunes. Get that one
yeah.
in for Christmas.
Who's that?
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah, I was doing. I can't remember what I was doing.
On the
No,
buses.
Yeah, we'll leave
Great.
you. No.
I think you were doing Grange Hill.
Yeah. Oh, there's one for Christmas. Write that down in the ideas bank. Alan, back to Christy Pym. It's nothing more. It's nothing short of what he deserves. A bit of recognition for great form, not only over the last few games keeping the clean sheets, but over the last 2 or 3 seasons, he's really grown into to a Mansfield Town goalkeeper, and he's fast becoming. When people put together their ultimate 11s, he's fast becoming one of those choices that can get into those sides, isn't he?
And he's a very good penalty stopper as well. It can save a penalty, any time of the day. But it also said on the news tonight, East Midlands Today, that if he doesn't get on for Northern Ireland, is also with Republic of Ireland and Canada. They were two others that were mentioned. Not they were mentioned tonight.
That place that he just visited.
His mother was busy, wasn't she?
I was going to say, yeah.
Fair play to the lad, he's done well, he's served us well. And like I say, like Clive said, after the Lincoln game, he could have, Nigel just had a quiet word with him, he said that's 2 for the season, basically. And I think he's kept him at his word. He's been unbelievable ever since.
He has. He really does deserve it, and it's great.
I've got a complaint, by the way, and I know I'll probably share it with lots of Stags fans, and that's the award of the Manager of the Month.
Steve Bruce.
Steve Bruce got it, and to a certain extent, he started so well that he was going to be in the frame, but he got beat by this tiny little side in North Nottinghamshire, who just happened to put 5 wins back to back. The last 3 games, 2 clean sheets. How the hell can Clough be overlooked?
It's last month, wasn't it? September, that's the problem. They happen to have done it halfway through October, which is weird. I don't know why they don't do it on the last day of the month, but it seems a bit, after we beat them, it seems a bit daft after we beat them.
Did Gregory win anything, by the way?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Don't think so.
I haven't heard. No.
Hey, listen, none of them, all them awards were irrelevant, because the thing that matters is just doing it on a Saturday, and Nigel Clough will say the same thing. Do I want the Manager of the Month award, or will I take 3 points in the clean sheet on Saturday? It's a no-brainer, absolutely no-brainer.
It could be the kiss of death anyway, Manager of the Month award.
Exactly. Let's move on, Jim, and turn our attentions to, the Blackpool game. And first and foremost, 2 p.m. when we saw the team sheet. Did you have to look twice when you saw Kilgour's name on the substitutes bench?
I was surprised. I was happily surprised. I hadn't expected to come on at all, really. I think Nigel did the right thing not putting him in defence when he did come on, because I think that would have exposed him to pressure that he didn't really need, just coming back from a year out. But I think that's lifted the fan base, hasn't it? I mean, that you could see the atmosphere go up a notch when he came on, for sure. And I think that's lifted the fans, the dressing room, and I think that's noteworthy. That is him coming back. And Tracy as well. I think he's.
Can I just say it's really. Fraser Blake Tracy?
No, it's Tracy. It's always going to be Tracy. Just like it's always Dave. Just like it's Uncle Stephen.
Can it be Uncle Dave?
No. You never know, though. Maybe Cousin Dave. I don't know. It might grow on me. Do you know what?
Christy O'Pim.
Christy O'Pim. Definitely we're having that one. Christy O'Pim. We're definitely having that one. You know what's funny about that, though, Nick? You talk about that. The amount of people I end up having conversation with on match day, and I know it's the same for you guys as well. And when we're talking about Oshalaja, say Dave.
It's just Dave.
I always
forget. Time we realised
forget.
If ever you needed a highlight as to the power of this podcast, it's Dave. Is that? Let's go back to talking about Kilgour, though, because as Jim mentioned there, Nick, he didn't have to put him on, and he did the right thing in putting him up front as well. Clough sort of explained it a little bit by saying didn't want to disturb the defence at that time because they connecting well and they were doing well as a defensive unit, but also it would have been the wrong thing to put him straight back into defence, because at that point you could see all he needed was just to run about a bit, not get too involved, just to get back into the swing of being on the pitch. And let's be honest, as we've seen from the interview as well, get the emotion out of his system, because that was a huge part for him. And doing it at home and bringing him on for the last 10 minutes is much more of an impactful thing to do as a manager, great management, than doing it on Tuesday night away at Wigan. Do you know what I mean? It had to be done at home, and it had to be done. It was the right time to do it.
Yeah, it's perfect with a 2-0 result. If it was 4-3 or something, he might not have done it. It would have been like the Burton game. He might not have done it. But I think if he'd have scored, because he got near a header, didn't he, at one point? Yeah. And I thought if he'd have scored, the ground would have literally burst. It would have just, I think it would have just blown up. I don't think the people near me could have coped with him. You know, they were almost falling off the chairs every time he got near the ball, let alone if he'd have scored. I mean, Garner, he'd have exploded, wouldn't he? Maybe in a different way. He would have literally exploded everywhere.
Let's talk about that.
We'll get to that, haven't we?
For reference,
nobody there sit next to him when he's got his clothes on, because he's got a body to absolute die for. Oh my God!
I'm going to play it one more time.
Nobody there sit next to him when he's got his clothes on, because he's got a body to absolute die for. Oh my God!
It's the oh my God that makes it. And do you know what? Looking at his facial reaction,
his face
on the video,
as well, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's like, oh my God! It's like, Garns, is this something you want to tell us? Because at that point, he was nursing one, wasn't he? You know what I mean? He was getting close to the cup final.
Somebody didn't know who that was about, and they'd been in a coma, and they woke up, and that was the first. They wouldn't have a clue what was going on, would you?
Nobody more pleased to see Alfie than Garns.
Right.
Let's hope not.
Yeah. The first time, I was like, oh my goodness me.
It's how
it was passionate. It was very passionate. It's like he's been dying to get it off his chest.
So I need to sort something about how fit this man is, which is basically what he said.
I think it's awakened something in Andy Garner they didn't know was there.
He's
not going to do a Phil Schofield, is he, Clive?
What, singing
no,
Joseph?
No.
Let's not go there.
But yeah, it was some interview, that was. It summed the club up, didn't it, that interview? It was brilliant.
Do you know
Clough just one of the biggest wins of the season, and Clough was like, "Nah, you can go and do it, Garner." And then he goes like, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to talk about Kilgour's tackle."
Yeah, not four. Listen, that clip is less than 30 seconds. That clip is about 10, 12 seconds. Andy Garner talks about like his body and how fit Alfie Kilgour is physically for a good minute. It was. I don't know, but
can you play it one more time?
Nobody there sit next to him when he's got his clothes on, because he's got a body to absolute die for. Oh my God!
Tracy says, "Can't see it myself." That's because you're banned from the dressing room.
I think Andy Garner's having a fantasy.
I don't know what to call it, Jim, but I think
bromance.
I think it's fair to say, Jim, that Andy Garner was pleased that Alfie Kilgour was back.
Well, I think Andy Garner was just excited because he just won, haven't we? So, I would say though about Kilgour, I think Clough's got a decision to make, hasn't he? Because I mean, to me, like Nick said earlier, I'm not dropping Dave from that back three. He's been fantastic, and I think what is our best back three now? And he's got a headache. He really has, and he's got some tough decisions to make.
Well, let's do the typical Nigel Clough thing, shall we, Alan, and say that while ever Lee Gregory is not fit to be involved in the match day squad, we put Alfie Kilgour on the bench and we throw him on up front for the last 10, 20 minutes just to run around and cause a nuisance, because that is the most typical thing that Nigel Clough did. If anybody didn't know the ins and outs of how Mansfield Town works as a squad, you would have looked at the last 5 minutes against Blackpool and seen a number 5 playing as a number 9 and a number 9 playing as a number 5. Madness.
It's just Nigel through and through, isn't it? There's a quality
it was the
manager.
most Clough thing ever.
And he knows how to do stuff, doesn't he? You know, like he said in his interview afterwards, not Garns, when Kilgour did the interview, he said, you know, he felt sick. He'd been running about, you know, all the emotion and everything had built up, and it was just the release. And he said, obviously, next time he'll play, probably today, he'd probably had a decent game. You know, it's just an ordinary run-of-the-mill game, but everything was right. Everything was, you know, looking forward to Kilgour coming on for that last 10 minutes. And when he put him up top, it was just a quality move. I thought, you know, Will was sweating. He said in the interview, he says, I thought you had some good touches there. You know, I'm getting a bit worried.
Oh, Alan, can we stop talking about releases when I've got this?
Nobody there sit next to him when he's got his clothes on, because he's got a body to absolute die for.
It's not-
Oh my God.
Play that clip and talk about releases because that's a whole different podcast. Mansfield Matters After Dark.
Don't be surprised if Andy Garner don't start singing show tunes in the weeks to come from the musicals.
I think he sings it. Maybe he sings it in his head. You know, when he's doing the warm up for the back three, he's just in his head. He's just, I am what I am. I love it. That, you know, it just typifies. I love Andy Garner for that because it just shows what personality we've had. Who would want a boring manager team? This is what encapsulates us so much, Jim, isn't it? The fact that there is so much passion, whether it's Nigel Clough giving it the fucking come on at Crawley or Andy Garner going.
Nobody dare sit next to him when he's got his clothes on because he's got a body to absolute die for. Oh my God.
You know, it just shows the passion that we've got from top to bottom, doesn't it? Steady.
We're great. I think as a club, we're great. You see some teams and fan bases that come to the one call and they're boring. And
Do you know what?
Just think, God.
Sorry, Jim, I've figured it all out. I wondered why Andy Garner was sent out for the interview instead of Clough. But I think Clough realised that Andy Garner needed to get away from the changing room. He was getting a bit hot under the collar.
Someone got a fan and a bucket of water for Garns. Shocking. Interesting comment from Susan Allen, who says, back three for me when Alfie is fit is Cargill, Dave and Alfie. No Flint in there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I think Jim alluded to it earlier on when he said, you know, who would you put as your best three? At the moment, the best three is the three that's playing, the three that's got the shirt. That's all you can say. Flint might not come back as good as. Cargill might not come back as good as. Who knows? But when they get their chance to put that shirt on, I think we'll see it. You know, all of them. And irrespective whether it's Cargill, whether it's Flint, whether it's Kilgour, whoever it is, whoever puts that shirt on, they'll do a damn good job.
Well, there you go. I mean, let's talk a little bit more about that interview from Cargill and Will Evans, Nick. It's a long feature. There's a long feature on iFollow. If you've got it, you can watch the whole thing. I haven't got iFollow this season, so I've not watched the whole video, but I've seen the 10-minute version on the club's free-to-air social media platform. First and foremost, fair play, great content, more of that, please, media team. Secondly, the perfect start, because Alfie Kilgour, it must have been a horrible thing for him last year because he comes in the January, plays superbly well. Fans love him straight away. Starts last season really well and forms a good, solid partnership with Aidan Flint. And you're thinking, oh my God, if this does work, we're onto something. Then he gets injured and he's had to watch the best season in Mansfield history. He's had to watch all of his teammates laughing, joking on the training ground together every single day, going on this run and getting promotion whilst being injured and not being able to be a part of it. And on top of that, he was captain as well. Mentally, away from family, all of that sort of stuff, that is a huge, huge thing to go back for. And maybe you're thinking I might not get back to it, but he's not taking his foot off the gas. I think he mentioned he's done a few courses during his time as well. He's used his time well and he's come back so determined. And I genuinely think a lot of that is down to Nigel Clough and the way that we said before, the way he runs his football clubs, because you might be out of it in terms of not being available for selection, Nick, but you're nowhere near away from it. You are still a part of it.
Yeah, I think you could tell the pain in his voice when they did the celebration videos when we got promoted, and he was in the dressing room. They interviewed some of the injured players, and you could just tell it was probably a weird day for him. I think he was half gutted that he couldn't play, and you know, obviously half later the club had gone up. His biggest worry was that he wasn't going to be that main man, that when he came back, the fans weren't going to be that bothered about him coming back. And I think Saturday, the release of emotion for him must have been, you know, incredible to go that we love him probably more now than we did when he got injured. Certainly Andy Garner does anyway.
Stop it, because I'm hovering over the button.
Play it again. One more time.
Nobody dare sit next to him when he's got his clothes on because he's got a body to absolute die for. Oh my God.
That needs to be my ringtone.
Oh my God.
But,
I'll send it to you.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. But yeah, I think the thing with Clough is if he tells you you're going to be still included when you're back, then you believe him and you just get on with it. And the stability of knowing Kilgour, knowing when he comes back that Clough is probably still going to be there, that must help as well, because the club's got quite good stability, hasn't he? There's no change of staff. There's no, there's not a mass exodus of players. So the guys he's been around last season are the same ones. And a back five allows him to have even more chance of coming back as well, which is, a positive. But yeah, I thought the interview was quite telling of how integrated he's probably still felt despite being out all that time, and the release on Saturday for him must have been, unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable releases. Stop it.
Unbelievable release.
Alan, another thing that was highlighted in that video was the relationship that he's got with Will Evans and sort of taking him into the clubhouse. I think Tom Nichols is there as well, and it's great to see that even though he's not captain on the pitch. That was the only thing that disappointed me, that he didn't get the armband when he came on, but that'll come when he plays. I'm sure it will. It just shows that he is a true leader. He's taken Evans under his wing, and I think we look at Will Evans' early form, and you've got to probably attribute a little bit of that to Alfie Kilgour, because we've said time and time again on this podcast that when you sign from a club that's so far away and you're away from your family, away from what you're in a different area, it takes time to settle. And Will Evans has just come in and just gone, boom, I'm in.
Yeah, well, he's struck up a decent partnership with him, hasn't he? I'm going to say the son-in-law texts me and says, "Have you seen the video?" He said, "I'm just sure they've walked past my house." I says, "They did. I saw it. It was, coming down from where on Kirkby Folly Road, just up at the top." But fair play to that lad. He's done really well, and he can't wait to get back to it, I'm sure. And I think he got the captain's armband today, didn't he? Against Bolton.
Yeah, he did play in the reserves a little bit. Nick, do you want to tell us a little bit about that? I know your Mansfield Town shirt senior went to watch it, didn't he? What's he reported back?
He said that they played quite well. I'm trying to find his message now. He said they played quite well. I think the only concern was that Maris went off with a knock. Yeah. I don't know if that's been reported, but that's what he said. Blake Tracy Nichols played 60, 70 minutes. McDonald apparently had a good game, but obviously he can't play. Ben Quinn played well as well. So looking at his photos, I don't think there was many people there. But it's just minutes, isn't it? Minutes in the belt. That's what they need. Yeah. I don't know what their team was like. I haven't seen their team.
They said it was a youthful look inside.
Yeah, but it's just minutes, isn't it? It doesn't matter who you're playing. It's just getting back on the pitch. And Kilgour and Blake Tracy, players like that. Maris, obviously, hopefully he's not injured. And Ben Quinn as well, because he needs to play competitive football, doesn't he? He's not really played since Bolton, I can remember. I mean, he played at Rotherham, didn't he? But he's not featured at home that I can remember. And the away games I've been to, he's not played either. So it'd be nice to get him some minutes. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? The reserve games, just getting minutes and hopefully not get injuries, but see what happens to Maris.
Yeah, I think other people have sort of posted on forums as well that he was seen walking afterwards, so he's all right.
Yeah.
But there's massive importance in there, Jim, that we've had this international break, but we've also not been afraid to put those players in and get them minutes. And I'm sure it's given Nigel Clough a bit of a headache ahead of Saturday. But I wouldn't expect the likes of Kilgour, Blake Tracy to start on Saturday. I think he would have probably been using today more to have a look at George Maris and potentially a start for Tom Nichols on Saturday, given the fact he will probably not start Keanu Bacchus or Ben Waine, given their international travels this week.
Yeah, these are the headaches he wants to have, aren't they, really? He's going to have some headaches and selection dilemmas coming up. But I think more than anything, he seemed to sort of allude to on that interview today that everybody's not far off being fit now. So to me, the main thing that'll do is just drive competition within the squad. That will keep everybody on the toes, because if you're not doing it, there'll be somebody just as good who'll come and get the shirt. So yeah, I think it's come at a good time, even though we have momentum. I think this 2 week, 10-day, 2 week break that we've had has come at a good time, definitely. Especially with the feel-good factor around the building as well. To have that linger on for another 2 weeks, I think it's just made. We've genuinely got the feel-good factor to the start of this season, haven't we? And I think with everybody just about going back fit as well, game on, bring it on.
Absolutely. We'll talk more about getting restarted towards the end of the show. Let's move on, Clive, and talk FA Cup draw. I forgot it was on last night, I'm going to be honest. Curzon Ashton away in round one. It's a banana skin for sure, National League North side. It's also got the potential to be a TV game, which I think for those who have got less than 5 points or whatever it is on the ticketing system, they'll be hoping for, because the 6 pointers like yourself will grab them up before everyone else gets a chance, which is, of course, the whole point of the system, not knocking that at all. It is a good FA Cup tie, isn't it? Not too far to travel, only Manchester based. Good competition, and it won't be an easy game.
Ashton-under-Lyne is where they're based, and which is on the Stockport side of Manchester, so it is easy to get to. You either go Snake Pass or Woodhead Pass, and you're there. It's a banana skin, they always are, but this is what the FA Cup's all about. It's about playing teams that you wouldn't normally come across, and I think we'll go there without any real fear. I think, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, I suppose. But what I don't think the point system applies to the FA Cup games, does it, in terms of ticket allocation?
It must do, because somehow you've got to. I don't think you'll
Well,
get
there
a
won't be enough
point by
tickets.
I don't think you'll get a point by buying a ticket, but I think it will certainly be points allocation in order to buy tickets.
If
Yeah,
it
well, I
wasn't
mean,
the
the
points
reality
police, the
is we
points
probably
police
won't-
would explode, wouldn't they?
You
Yeah.
probably won't get more than
The
1,500 tickets for the game, I wouldn't have thought. And,
Maybe not even
I
that.
think it's 4,000 they're holding, isn't it?
4,000, yeah.
Is it 25% or 15% you've got to give minimum allocation, something like that, for away fans in the FA Cup?
I
It's
thought
either
it was
15 or
25.
25.
But
Might
either
be
way, I
25,
mean,
might be.
they've got to assess the ground's capacity and its capabilities of looking after segregation in the way that perhaps in their normal league games they're not required to do. Whatever we get, we'll sell. I think it will be one of the chosen live matches, which probably means it might be Friday night or a early game on Saturday or whatever. Either way, those people that aren't lucky enough to get a ticket can watch the game.
Yeah, that's
Doesn't Jimmy Spencer play for them?
Yes, he does.
I thought he did. Yeah, and they're joint third in the league, I think, so they're doing quite well.
Yeah.
I understand, but I thought Jimmy Spencer played there.
Are they the same
I think
level
he's
as
their
Alfred?
captain.
Yeah,
same
they're above
level.
Alfred in the league. Yeah. They've got County, haven't they, away?
Yeah.
Well,
on that,
they'll see themselves as potential giant killers, and that's the way it should be in the FA Cup.
And there's no replays either, is there, this year?
no, I find that quite funny
Well,
earlier on.
wrong,
On the day.
Yeah, that which is brings a different test to it, because really for them as a non-league side, National League North side, you want to get a draw at home to get the away leg to get a little bit more money, because obviously you get the revenue. And I don't think even against Curzon Ashton, a National League North side, I still think we'd sell 7,000+ tickets, because it's the way we are at the minute at home. So they'll be good to miss out on that. But Alan, you were talking earlier on about the importance of a good FA Cup run. I think financially and for momentum wise as well, we saw last season how important and how imperative that Carabao Cup run was at the start of the campaign. We didn't really have an FA Cup run last year because we were knocked out in round one. I think we need one this year. I think it'd be good. I think it'd be very, very good
nice,
thing for us.
because certain times it goes hand in hand. You can have a good cup run and there's nothing to stop you still performing well in the league as well. They go hand in hand with each other. And if you can, just go that next step and then on to round 3, who knows? Big boy away, it's got to go on the day. So anything can happen. But yeah,
I'll say this, lads: if our players are all fit and available again, then a cup game's a useful thing to get some of the players out there.
Yeah.
Especially in terms of the dates when it falls as well. Jim, briefly, your thoughts on the FA Cup draw?
Like Clive just said, it's a good chance to give some people a game who aren't going to get many minutes. And what Alan said as well, I think a couple of years ago when we played Middlesbrough, didn't we? And I think we beat Sheffield Wednesday. And it really seemed to sort of give a bit of momentum and magic to things, and it helped us in the league as well. So it's never a bad thing. Never a bad thing. But the league's the priority for me, though, come the end of the day. But it's just take it or leave it, really, FA Cup. If we do well, it's a bonus. If we don't, we don't.
Almost the perfect
first game that Clough watched us play after he agreed to join the club was an FA Cup game at Sunderland, wasn't it?
Yeah, the 1-0 win. Reece Oates, the magical day, which I think was the one where Richard Cooper got his much deserved win as caretaker boss. Nick, an FA Cup draw against Curzon Ashton. For me, I think it's a good draw. I would have rather been at home, but good draw, lower league opposition. It's not an easy game like we keep saying, but for me, we need to be reaching round 3 minimum this season.
Yeah, I think round 3 is, you can say you've had a good cup run. I think the draw is great because it gives Stags fans a chance to go somewhere we've not been before. As far as I'm aware, we've never played them before. So yeah, it's a new ground, and we'll go there. And I think the thing with the FA Cup, those teams is, I think if you go there with the right attitude, you should win. And I think the players will go there with the right attitude. It's the first time probably a cup run isn't really a hindrance, because even when we've had good cup runs, we've had to play the first team every time because we haven't got that depth. Whereas you could pick 2 different defences at the minute, 2 different striker formations. You know, Akins has not played, Ben Wayne's not really started, Quinn, Nichols, all those players. You just add them back in. Bacchus hasn't started every week. There's so many different formations and teams you could pick that I don't think it'll get in the way. Plus the fact that these international breaks have come, you know, it's another week where players can hopefully get minutes who haven't.
Yeah.
I am disappointed though when Alan said "big boy" in his FA Cup summary that you didn't press the clip.
I was refraining from doing it.
As soon as he said "big boy," I just wanted the button pressed instantly.
What I need to do is I need to re-clip it just for the "oh my god" bit. So we'll have
so when he said "big boy," it just went "oh my god." Yeah, that would have been perfect.
In future weeks, we will have 2 clips. We will have the "oh my god" clip and the full clip. But we need to turn our attention. Before we even think about an FA Cup run, we've got some league games to get out of the way, which is the perfect time to do this. So can you be the master or an embarrassing disaster? In this guessing game, there's a simple aim. It's outguess the rest and be the best. Win, lose or draw. Do you know the score? Who will be your hero to make sure you don't score 0? Yes, it may be fiction, but this is Podcast Predictions. Oh my God. Right, let's start with podcast predictions, so, shall we? A double header. First up, Stevenage at home, followed by Wigan on Tuesday night. And we'll start with Stevenage. And we'll start with Jim. What will be this win, lose or draw?
I think we'll win 2-1 on Saturday. Man of the match, or captain, shall I say, Dave.
And on to Nick.
I'm going to go 2-1 Stags and Evans as the man of the match.
Alan.
2-0 Stags, Reed.
Clive, you're up next.
You already know my predictions. I'm afraid until we lose a game, I'm going to be stuck with my predictions of negativity, which is we're going to lose 2-1. We're going to lose 2-1, and it's going to be Reed.
I am going to go for a 3-1 win, and I am going to opt for Hewitt as my hero to make sure I don't score 0. And in terms of Wigan, I'm going to take a 1-1 draw, and I'm going to pick Evans. In fact, no, I'm going to change it. I'm going to pick Pim for that one. Clive, Wigan away.
Dave.
Alan.
2-1 win, Dave.
Nick.
2-1 win, Pim.
And finally, Jim.
1-1 draw, Quinn.
And if you want to play along with podcast predictions, you can do so. The link that you need is in the description. You must enter no later than 1 hour and 1 minute before your selected game kicks off, so team selection can't impact your decision. And we will reveal the table after each game. So make sure we'll reveal who wins the week after each game now on social media. So make sure you will follow us at MCFC Matters. I just got it in before the music pad finished. Right, it's time to do one final thing, and that is fire up the random game generator.
Nobody there sit next to him when he's got his clothes on, because he's got a body to absolute die for. Oh my God.
Oh God. Oh my God. I hope it's not Andy Garner's Body to Die For game. Jesus, that's a different one, isn't it? Let's find out. Cross your fingers, everyone.
Content loading. Selecting game. Game selected. Players stand by. What's in Craig's bucket?
It's the return of a classic. It is
Bucket.
What's in Craig's bucket. I have a very loose study, Mansfield Town related item-ish in my bucket, and all you have to do is guess what it is. Each of our players have got 3 questions each, to which I can only answer yes, no, or maybe, and I might give you a little bit of a hint along the way as well. We are going to go in the following order, so please listen up. We're going to go with Clive, followed by Nick, followed by Alan, and then it will be Jim. We'll go around 3 questions each. Please do not guess within those 3 questions. I will ask you at the end for your guess. And a reminder of the scores on the doors so far for the games, so far this series. Clive, Alan, and Nick are all tied on 2 points apiece. Cam then has 1 point. Jim is yet to score. So, Jim, let's see if you can get off to a scoring start. So we are playing What's in Craig's bucket. Feel free to guess along in the comments if you wish to do so. Let's find out as we play What's in Craig's bucket. Oh, my God. Clive, take it away.
Could I eat it?
It wouldn't taste very nice, but yes, you could. Nick.
Just out of interest, can we clip these individual bits? So, when somebody says something, we can just play Clive saying, "Can I eat it?"
I can, yes. Anyway, your question.
Can you wear it?
Yeah, technically, yes, you can. Alan.
Is it a very small item?
In relation to...
Back on my Willie again here, aren't we?
It is. We're back on Clive's "Can I eat it?" question.
In relation to what,
in
Alan?
relation,
Give me sizes. Give me a size.
Like a badge size.
It's bigger than a badge, but smaller than
Columbia.
Bigger than a badge, right?
Smaller than a newspaper. Jim.
Very specific.
What?
Can you play with it?
Hang on. Is it a
Press the
broadcast
clip.
noise?
Play the clip.
Jim, what was the question? I didn't hear that. Sorry.
Can you play with it?
Play the clip.
Yes, you can play with it, Jim, if you want to. Clive. Second round of questions, Clive.
Way less than a small tin of beans.
Yes. Nick.
Is it a piece of official MTFC merchandise?
No. Alan.
Is it? Well, I've got to ask. Can it be heated up?
It's not a sausage roll, is it?
Well, I actually, yes, it could, but it wouldn't be a very wise idea because it would set on fire. So I wouldn't advise heating it up. But yes, it could be heated up. Jim.
Can you buy it on the internet?
Yes, you could buy this item on the internet. Why you would, I'm not sure, but you could. And many people might in their online shops. Probably too much information. Clive, last round of questions to you. Off we go.
Is it enjoyed better with more people involved?
There are probably certain videos where people would probably say it is enjoyed better with more people involved, but some might say it's quite handy for your own personal uses.
I've got it.
Nick.
Is it something that you'd take out with you if you were to leave the house, or is it something that stays in the house?
Yes, I think most people would quite commonly have these on their person out and about. Especially when one is not feeling too well. Alan.
Is it a first aid?
I would say that this fits into the category of being a first aid. Yes. Jim, final question. Make it a good one.
Can you get it on Amazon? No, I can't really think of anything to
It's
say,
very
really.
specific. Yeah, are you trying to buy one, Jim? They're very specific retail-based questions of yours.
Is it
I mean,
$6.99?
Can you get on
free
the internet?
postage?
Can you clarify what website and how much?
I mean, you can buy anything on Amazon, so yes.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to award 2 points in this particular game. 1 for the getting the item correct, but 2 for the particular link to, or my particular dodgy link, should I say, to why it relates to Mansfield Town FC this week. So the immortal question is, what's in Craig's buckets? Clive, you're first.
I think it's a condom dispenser with a stag on it.
Nick.
I don't know. I genuinely have no clue. I don't know. Some tablets. I genuinely don't know. Make you better.
I don't think Andy Garner needs them, does he? When he looks at anyway, Alan.
No.
A box of plasters, thinking about the injuries.
Nick. I mean, Jim.
Box of
A
plasters.
defibrillator.
Jim, sorry, say that again.
A defibrillator, because everybody's always injured.
Oh, hang
I'm
on.
afraid-
We've ascertained
They're not that badly
it doesn't
injured.
wear as been.
Yeah, that's in bucket.
They're not that badly injured that they need resuscitated.
I mean, I'd be surprised if you could get a defib in the size of this bucket.
It's a
but you never know.
defibrillator for hobbits.
I am afraid you are all incorrect.
Oh, I can't believe
I
that.
would probably say that. Who said box of plasters?
Me.
Alan didn't ask if it was wet. So that's what you normally ask, Alan. That's probably
Yeah.
why you've not won. Your
Well,
default question is always,
How,
is
it,
it wet?
how it's gone tonight, I've just left that completely out.
No, very, very true.
I mean,
Yeah,
that might have been a better question to ask. Could you
Yeah.
wet it? Because you could wet it.
Oh, is it a flannel?
You're close, Nick. You're very, very
A
close.
sponge. A sponge.
No.
Oh, no.
The
Well,
correct
clear.
answer of what's in Craig's bucket is it's a packet of tissues for Andy Garner to mop up his
Brow.
drool,
Brow.
or brow, or whatever other substance it might be when he says this.
Nobody dare sit next to him when he's got his clothes on because he's got a body to absolute die for. Oh my God.
I just thought at that point he might need a tissue.
So, do I get a point for that then?
No.
No.
No,
No chance. No chance.
No.
You see, yeah, but
Oh.
plasters and tissues aren't the same thing, are they? You
Nowhere near the same thing.
I
don't
think,
put a tissue
Al.
on a gunshot wound.
I think you're being a bit harsh, lads.
Sorry, Al. I was awarded a point for the link to Mansfield and the link to the item, and I don't think you were
Yeah.
close enough on either to
No
warrant a point, I'm
No
afraid.
problem.
There we go. Right, let's move it back to some form of normality, shall we, Jim? 2 games coming up. We've had an extended break. How important is it for us to pick up where we've left off and make sure that we don't lose the momentum by having the break that we've had?
Well, it would be nice, but I'd just take a game at a time. If we lose a game or a couple of games, it's not going to be a disaster. It's not going to be the end of the season, and it's going to come at some point. So, not as important as you'd think. It would just be nice, I think.
Nick, 2 games back to back. I think important that the first one's a home game. I think everybody's itching to get back, aren't they, and enjoy some football in action. Be a tough test though, because we will have some players missing still.
Yeah, it'll be a tough game. We've got Jamie Reid coming back. Ex-players, especially strikers, always seem to score against us. They've got Pierre Gianni still, haven't they, at the back, who seems to be their top scorer again. I'd take 4 points in any order, but 3 at home would be nice. And then, it's a bit of a free hit on Tuesday and then the following Saturday.
Alan, you've gone for 2 back-to-back wins. What makes you so confident that we're going to get 6 points within the next week before we talk again on this podcast?
I think we'll keep the momentum going. Everybody's fighting to get in the starting 11, which can't be a bad thing. And, Nigel was a bit concerned, or not concerned or worried as such, but he was just wondering how we'd cope after the last international break. We coped rather well with it, as we all know. So I don't see why we can't carry it on. Momentum.
Clive, I know that you've gone tactically for 2 back-to-back defeats because it's,
yeah,
it's just the
yes,
way you do. But
absolutely, because that's just superstition getting in the way of practicality. Sneakily, I think we're going to get 6 points.
very interesting to see. Well, we'll find out over the next week or so. Of course, Stevenage at home on Saturday, Wigan on Tuesday night. We're going to be a little bit of a Mansfield Matters outing, and I think Clive, Nick and I are all going together to Wigan, so do come and say hello. And wherever it is that you do, wherever it is that you go, just remember...
Nobody dare sit next to him when he's got his clothes on, because he's got a body to absolute die for. Oh, my God.
Couldn't resist one last play, could I? Jim, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you again in a few weeks' time. Clive, Alan, Nick, as well, thanks so much for your input this evening. We will see you again soon. All that's left to say is that's the end of the show. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. And a thing called desire has taken us so far, but can it continue in the next 2 games? We're really looking forward to getting back to action after the international break, but can Mansfield Town get 6 points from the next 2 games? Will it be 2 points? Will it be no points at all? One thing is for sure, desire will be present every single step of the way, as has become the norm with a Nigel Clough Mansfield Town side. As always, feel free to get involved with podcast predictions. The link that you need is in the description. You must enter no later than 1 hour and 1 minute before kickoff on either of those 2 games. Make sure you're following us on all things social media at MTFC Matters to find out when we're next going to be live. Spoiler, it'll probably be next Thursday as we reflect on Stevenage and Wigan, and much, much more in between as well. Why? Well, because Mansfield always matters, and always remember this. If you're feeling down, just think this about yourself.
Nobody dare sit next to him when he's got his clothes on, because he's got a body to absolute die for. Oh, my God.
Oh,